history that we were all taught growing up is wrong. My name is Scott Wolter, and I'm a forensic geologist. There's a hidden history that nobody knows about. There are pyramids, chambers, tombs, inscriptions. They're all over the world. We're going to investigate these artifacts and sites, and we're going to get to the truth. Sometimes history isn't what we've been told.
So what are we going to see?
We're coming up on the Arizona Historical Society, where they have 32 lead artifacts inscribed with Latin. They were discovered by a man named Charles Miner in 1924, who was out on a Sunday drive just outside of Tucson, and apparently they date back to 800, 900 AD. This is really an important, potentially important group of artifacts. If we're able to generate some real hard evidence that proves these things are real, I mean, this is a huge deal. It's incredible.
Here's a sword sticking out of the ground.
Look at it, stuck right in there.
Yeah.
Right in the hill. See, that is so perfect.
Is that one of the swords? No, it's a cross.
No, yeah, it's a cross, I think. The one I like is the labrum. If you find pictures of that.
Oh, I think I had some over here. The labrum, is that what we're calling it?
Or the pizza paddle, whatever you want to call it.
Labrum sounds more official.
We got to learn more about these two guys right here.
Well, they found about 24 pieces, 26, something like that.
Charles Miner found the initial ones, then he partnered with Tom Bent. Tom Bent was an attorney, but they were World War I buddies. So who are we meeting today?
We're meeting Charles Bent, Thomas Bent's grandson.
The grandson, okay. Mr. Bent, how you doing?
Oh, I'm just fine.
It's nice to meet you.
I'm glad to be here.
You're a grandson of one of the original discoverers. How does this story unfold for you?
It was kind of secretive.
Secretive?
As I was growing up, because they didn't want us to know that we had our artifacts.
So did you grow up with these?
Yes.
In the house?
In the house.
Wow.
But I've been interested in them, and I guess because of my grandfather, he just wanted to know what they were and how they got there. But it was my grandmother that put the kibosh on it. She felt that I won't say a waste of time, but I think she thought it was a waste of his time. He went through great pains to dig these things out, document how they were encased and where they were found, how deep. And some of the people say, okay, you found these, that's good. However, these were planted. And he would say, why would somebody plant these things thinking someday these are going to be found? Boy, am I going to pull a big hoax. I think he did think that, okay, these are official. You know, I dug them out. You know, I know what I went through to get these. He just wanted the truth.
Wouldn't you think that these academics that are studying this history have these incredible artifacts that suddenly are just thrusting in front of them? Here, these are the first and only of their kind. Wouldn't you think they'd be all over it?
I would think so. I think at times they just don't want to rewrite history, you know.
But you know, this whole thing about rewriting history, I've heard many people say that, well, gee, this work you did rewrites history. You're gonna have to rewrite history. Well, you know what my answer is? Well, then rewrite it.
My honest opinion is that my grandfather, knowing him like I did not plant these or any of this other stuff. I think he truly believed that there's something here. There's something here that needs to be discovered or needs to be found out.
I have an idea that will get us to the truth and prove to Chuck that his grandfather wasn't part of a hoax. As a geologist, this mystery is right up my alley. There's a mysterious rock-like residue on the objects. By examining that material and visiting the site where the relics were discovered, I might be able to tell how long the artifacts were buried. You know where the artifacts were found?
I think so.
Oh, okay.
I think
okay.
once I'm there and I see it, then I could probably figure out where the dig was. This is the spot because right there where that water tower is, that's the old house. That's where my grandparents lived. The artifacts site should be just right over this hill. I was gonna make you walk through bushes. Yeah, this is it. Right. This was part of the dig in this section. And some of the artifacts, like the first one they found, was actually sticking out a little ways. And that's how they found them. The hard part was just digging them out of that stuff, yeah.
Based on those pictures from your grandfather's report, they were literally embedded in this caliche. Caliche is the key to finding the truth. It's a type of sedimentary rock deposit formed through the erosion process. Caliche is basically what they call desert cement. That's exactly what this looks like here. This caliche is really important because this is a process that takes time. The important thing about caliche is it's a type of limestone. If the limestone here matches the deposits on the relics, then I don't see how they could have been a modern-day hoax. But questions remain. Just how long have they been here, and who did they belong to? There are some tests we can do to verify how long that process takes. If these things are real, these are huge. I want to know more. We got to get to the bottom of this. I'm trying to figure out if 32 lead crosses, swords, and ritual objects unearthed outside of Tucson in 1924 are part of an untold history here in the Southwest or part of a modern hoax. The grandson of one of the men who discovered the artifacts wants to know the truth, and I have every intention of giving it to him. So far, the geology at this site has me leaning toward authenticity, but before I make any conclusions, I need to take some caliche samples and test them. I'm just gonna chop some of this stuff down, so just catch it in the bucket. Okay, I want the gravel and the rocks and everything, the sand. This is all caliche right here. That's a big rock. No, it's just a testament. This naturally happens, and it's really strong. This caliche is really important because this is a process that takes time. I'm hopeful to verify how long that process takes. So that's it. That's all I want. Caliche is obviously very important because the artifacts were found encased in the caliche. Grab my backpack. Should be a bottle inside in the side pocket there.
Antacid tablets?
Yep. You know what that's made of?
Caliche?
Essentially, yes. It's calcium carbonate. And when you get an acid buildup in your stomach, you pop a couple of these and it neutralizes the pH. We use it all the time.
So if I get sick, I should go in the desert and eat some dirt?
Basically, yes. They've been using it for 2,000 years or longer, so works just as well now.
Oh, that'll save me some cash.
Been quite some time since I've seen this.
Wow. This is, wait, we gotta put gloves on. Here you go. You got them, Grant?
Yeah.
But when was the last time you saw these?
Oh, let me see. Many years ago. I think I was maybe in high school.
Look at this one.
This is odd. What the heck? So this is what, AD? It's right here, AD, DCCC.
Right.
So that's 800
Yeah.
AD.
Mm-hmm.
Were they using AD then?
I don't know.
If AD wasn't in use, that would be a critical clue suggesting these items were a hoax. We gotta check that out, because you know what? If we don't check it out and somebody else does and says, hey, Sherlock's, that's important.
Right.
Were they using AD regularly in 800 AD? Yeah.
What would have done that?
What the heck is that?
Looks like
hand
something
me
was
my lens
stabbed
over
at
there?
it.
Oh, there's an impact.
Yeah,
There's an impact right
there.
here, and that's what broke it.
Yeah.
Look at right here. There's a groove that goes in like this, and that's exactly what broke it. This thing had to be on a hard surface. I mean, if somebody was holding that, that had to be laying down, and something hit it from this angle, because you can see the rounded little tip going in here, and it's not sharp. So there's something weird going on here. No,
It wouldn't be from a fight.
no, it's something was happening to these. Maybe they were broken in some type of ritual. That's the only thing that I can think of. Grant, didn't you translate this one?
Yeah, it's definitely Latin. It talks about King Theodorus and going across the sea to a new secret land.
Theodorus was a Roman leader. He and his brothers were warrior princes during the time of Charlemagne. Some believe he voyaged to America in 775 AD. What's on the back of this one? We've got something that looks like a brontosaurus or a dinosaur. What is that? It has a forked tongue. That may tell us something, but that's a question that we have to investigate. Okay, that's nice and heavy. Oh, jeez. Look at the green on there, yeah, and the blue. That's malachite. And the blue is azurite, and it's gorgeous. And there's calcite here, and there's sand grains. Well, this is crystalline. If that's crystalline, that had to have grown in place. This is like fibrous growth. It's a radiating mineral. It kind of radiates with needles. This could be one of the smoking guns, really important smoking guns. Just like caliche is a clue to how old these relics are, so is what I'm seeing here. This is like forensic rust. It takes hundreds of years to form. And if we can take a closer look, we'll know whether it really dates to 800 AD, the date inscribed on one of the crosses. Getting these relics under a 3D microscope is critical. It's the only technology available that can recreate the exact features of the inscribed symbols, lines, and carvings. It's invaluable in the new science of archaeopetrography, the use of geology to help solve archaeological mysteries. See, here's the edge of the metal right here. So this is a little recess here. All this area here is a depression. And this is the high spots here. It seems to me what I suspect is that that grew on the back at the site where they were found. And what makes this so important is that that takes time.
About how long does that take?
I would say at least decades, and more likely hundreds of years. Now, look at that letter is completely obscured with secondary deposits. This letter right here. I don't know if I can move this out of the way. This is consistent with lengthy deposition of these deposits. This takes time. All right, well, let's flip this over and let's take a look. I wonder if the deposits are the same. What the hell? Grant, look at that. And there's another one right there. Do you know what that is? Oh my God, I can't believe it. Grant, look at that. And there's another one right there. Do you know what that is? Oh my God, I can't believe it. It's a cross of Lorraine. It's a double-barred cross. This is the patron symbol to the Knights Templar. The Templars were religious knights who used the cross of Lorraine throughout the Crusades, and perhaps even before. The double-barred cross also represents the dragonfly, which is an important symbol to Native Americans. In that way, it was a symbol both groups shared. All right, guys, let's summarize what we have. They're either real or they're not. And are there things on here that tip this into the real or not real category? I mean, that's what we have to do. The discovery of the artifacts. There were people present, there were archaeologists that excavated these things. No one questions the veracity of the dig. That's a critical point. This AD thing, that's hanging out there. We got to figure out whether or not that was in use or not. And the other thing is, what is the deal with that dinosaur? I don't understand. All of a sudden, that thing shows up. All the other symbolism looks really good, but that thing bothers me. So we're gonna have to get to the bottom of that.
I want the answers of what these things are, where they came from, if they're planted, if they're real. I need to know.
I really want to figure this out, and I want to do it for your grandfather and for you. To get to the truth, we have to verify age. The minerals are key. First, there's the caliche. This is like desert cement that takes hundreds of years to form. Then, there's the malachite and azurite, beautiful minerals which grew and crystallized underground while the artifacts were buried. They can also take hundreds of years to form. And there's another element we can look into, the lead itself. I really need to try to find a source for this lead. Is there any place around here that might have a mine that could potentially be a source for the lead to make these artifacts? If there's no viable source for lead around here, it could cast doubt on their legitimacy.
There's an old Yuma mine
Okay.
that they think the lead might have come from.
And it's near here.
I know, 4 or 5 miles, I think.
Guys all ready?
Hi, Chrissy, how are you?
Good, how about yourselves?
Good, good, ready to hike?
Watch the barbed wire. So we just kind of work our way up, and then that's the actual mine.
If I can find lead at the Yuma mine, it tells me that the crosses, swords, and artifacts could have been made here, which makes sense, since I don't know if any overseas explorers would have carried these things all the way to the southwest. See, there's stuff all along here. This whole side here is all ore. Here's another piece here. You know, it's possible our guys that made those artifacts were here, right here, digging out this material. It's everywhere. See that fracture running right here?
Yeah.
So you're gonna have all this ore running in a seam like this, and then running off into these fractures on the side.
How would they have gotten that out?
Well, with manual labor, they must have had picks of some kind and hammers. Heck, they could have even taken heavy stones and just pounded the rock. This stuff will break up, melt it down, and make the lead. It's actually a pretty simple process. It's all over the place here. It would have been no problem. First of all, there's more than enough lead ore here to make the artifacts 800, 1,000, 2,000 years ago. The only thing left now is we do need to take that gravel sample, go back to the lab and test it, but all we need to do is find just a little bit of limestone in there, and there's our source of caliche, percolates down, cements the artifacts. If they're real, the question is, who made them? Where did they come from? And why did they come here? When I left Arizona, I promised Chuck Bent some answers. He deserves to know once and for all if the artifacts his grandfather found are ancient or if his grandfather was part of an elaborate hoax. People have been trying to get to the bottom of the mystery for nearly a century, but no one's ever used geology to try to solve it. I know the tests I'm going to do on the caliche found on the artifacts will tell me how old the cross and artifacts are. But those tests can't tell me who made them. To figure that out, all I have to go on are the symbols. Symbols like the Cross of Lorraine, a symbol used by the Knights Templar and possibly other groups. Symbols are like trademarks, sometimes used by the same groups for centuries. And sometimes, symbols seem to turn up in the most unlikely places. Hey, Bill, this is Scott Wolter. I really need to talk to you. I'm looking at the strangest thing. Well, Bill, I've been doing this research on the Tucson lead artifacts, and when I started to investigate them, I saw some incredible symbology on here and symbols that looked Masonic to me, and I know with your Masonic background that you might be able to help me out.
This is terrific stuff, Scott.
Now here's a couple of the artifacts here. This is the first one that was found by a man named Charles Minair, and in 1924, over the course of the next several years, he and his World War I buddy, a man named Thomas Bent, found over 30 lead artifacts buried under up to 6 feet of caliche cemented sand and gravel. And when I came across these things, I was absolutely fascinated, and they're just covered with symbols.
Some of these symbols I do recognize. This is a really important symbol. This is the Cross of Lorraine.
Exactly. That's why I was excited to contact you. I mean, I saw it on these artifacts, and then I started to do research, and I started finding it at all kinds of places. I was at the gas station, and I looked up at the Exxon sign. Look at that.
Right there, the Cross of Lorraine was really the symbol of the medieval Knights Templar order of the First Crusades, and it's continued to this day. It's known as the patriarchal cross to the Knights Templar, but it's really the Cross of Lorraine.
It's a red double-barred cross on a white background with the blue border on the bottom. What's going on here?
Well, the red and white suggests the color of the Knights Templar. The blue represents possibly the ocean and the notion that the Knights Templar sailed across the Atlantic Ocean to North America and established certain secret sanctuaries.
The person that designed this was a man named Raymond Loewy, who also designed the Studebaker car and the shape of the Coca-Cola bottle.
This is really interesting. Raymond Loewy was rumored to be a Freemason.
If Loewy was a Freemason, it would make perfect sense for him to incorporate a Templar symbol into one of his logos. People don't realize it, but it's accepted as fact that many Freemasons are modern-day Knights Templar. One organization evolved from the other. When the Templar Order was banned and the Knights burned at the stake, they didn't just disappear. They escaped, took their ideology with them, and started over. I want to show you something else. I found his notes that he used when he was designing this logo. And here you can see this is the one that was accepted, but look at some of these others here. I mean, those look familiar to you?
The square and compass, which is, as you know, a huge symbol within Freemasonry.
Well, exactly. It's the most common symbol of Freemasonry. I mean, it's basically you take two V's invert one and put them on top of each other, but really symbolizes dualism, the concept of opposites that keep things in balance. Male, female, heaven and earth, good, bad, light, dark. But there's also a practical side to the compass and the square. These are two of the most important building instruments that have been used for millennia, going back as far as we know, to build important structures that many cultures aligned with the stars, the moons, the planet, Venus, in what we call archaeoastronomy. The fact that the Cross of Lorraine appears on the Tucson artifacts suggests to me they are somehow connected to either the Templars or the Freemasons. The 800 AD date inscribed on one of the crosses is about 300 years too early for the Templars, but maybe there is still a connection. I'm about to do some testing on some caliche sediments that I collected where the Tucson artifacts were found, and it's going to help me determine whether these artifacts indeed have been in the ground for a significant length of time and essentially prove their authenticity. But on another level, the presence of the Cross of Lorraine on these artifacts also is a sign of authenticity. Well, Grant, you ready to test some caliche?
Yeah, let's do it.
The whole point of what we're trying to do here is to see, could this caliche have formed naturally in the field where we saw it? Now, it looks obvious, but we still have to prove it. Well, this is one of the samples we collected from the site. You can see all this white material here. Mm-hmm. That's the caliche. We need to make sure that there's a source for the caliche, limestone. And if we have that, then it makes sense that we have a source that could percolate down and encase the artifacts in the caliche that we saw. The artifacts are real. The question is, are they old? Once we do the work, if we find what we're looking for, then this is an amazing discovery. Figuring out whether or not the Tucson artifacts are authentic relics from 800 AD all comes down to a single test. When Charles Manair and Thomas Bent discovered these artifacts in 1924, they were encased in caliche, a natural cement type of deposit that can take hundreds of years to form and would be nearly impossible to fake. If the caliche on the artifacts is a match to the rock samples of limestone we took at the site, I'll be convinced these artifacts were left by ancient explorers to the southwest. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take all of these bags, we're going to individually identify each particle and see if we have a limestone source. We have to have a source for the caliche, and it's got to be above the artifact. So if we have the limestone, rainwater is going to percolate down, it's going to dissolve it out, bring it down, and theoretically cement it into the layer with the artifacts.
Will we be able to tell if it's the same stuff that's on the artifacts?
Yes, we will. If this does all pan out, and it shows that it did form naturally, there's no evidence that anybody faked anything. If we have the source, everything else fits, game, set, match. Everything fell into place with the caliche testing. We do have the limestone source up above that percolated down through this sediment pile and encased the artifacts in caliche. No question about it. Therefore, since we have no evidence of fakery or hoaxes at all, at this point I'm ready to say with absolute certainty in my mind that these artifacts are absolutely legitimate. Now, they date to about the 8th and 9th century. And in looking at the geologic formation, based on what I know about the geology, everything fits. We still have a few questions hanging out there that need answers. One being, was the term AD used in the year 800? One of the relics clearly shows a date of 800 AD. I had Grant do the research on this to confirm its legitimacy.
It does work, because during that time, they were using AD.
And then there's the carving of what looks like a dinosaur. I spent a lot of time in the fossil world, and I never heard of any dinosaur with a forked tongue. That's gotta be a lizard. And we're in the desert in the Southwest, lizards all over the place. To me, that's gotta be what it is. There's no question we've got a pre-Columbian presence here in southern Arizona in the 8th and 9th century. But who could it be? The only thing that I can think of personally is a precursor to the Knights Templar. I think the Cross of Lorraine is the symbol that proves it's possible. The Templars ultimately embraced that symbol, so perhaps its appearance here is one of the first times it was used by religious refugees that were part of a larger organization that later spawned the Templars. I know the Knights Templar made it to America in 1362. I know this because of my past work studying the Kensington runestone found in Minnesota. The Templars left their hooked X symbol on that artifact, and maybe another affiliated group was here in the Southwest before them and left the Cross of Lorraine symbol behind. Well, one thing I know for sure is Chuck Bent is going to be happy that the geologic work we've done here has proven that these things are absolutely real. And I can't wait to tell him. Hey, Chuck. Come on in. Great to see you. Thanks for coming.
I wouldn't miss this.
I wanted to tell you in person about the results of the testing.
This has been something that has been gnawing at me for quite some time.
Let me ask you a question. What if it turns out these artifacts are a hoax?
It's not going to make me feel good, but at least I will know. And then there won't be this question about, well, were they planted? Because if they were, I don't think that's because my grandfather planted them.
He found somebody
He
else's
found-
hoax, if that's what it turns out to
Right.
be. Let me tell you a little bit about what we did, okay? When you took Grant and I out to the site where the artifacts were found, we were able to take a sample of the sand and gravel and the caliche that cemented it together that the artifacts were found in. In the lab, I was able to look at that material. And first of all, the caliche on the artifacts and at the site is the same. The other thing is on the back of the artifacts where we took that sample, we also saw the malachite and the azurite together with the caliche. Well, after doing my analysis, my only conclusion that I could draw is that those minerals in that environment at that place had to have taken hundreds of years to form. So that can only mean one thing. They're genuine.
Genuine?
They're genuine. Your grandfather was telling the truth. And there's no way that that could have been faked.
How old do you think the artifacts are then?
Well, one of the artifacts is dated to 800 AD. This would make them 1,200 years old. And what's nice about the work we did is the geology is consistent with that date. One of the questions people asked is, was the AD used at that time? And it turns out it was. I didn't know anything about these artifacts, and to walk into this, to see the artifacts, to be able to test them, to meet you, and to be able to do this today is really an amazing experience. So I'm really excited about that.
Oh, I'm sure my grandfather, he's hearing all this, and I'm sure he's really happy.
It feels really good to be able to tell you this, but the thing that's sitting now in my head is, who were these people? Who made these artifacts, and where did they come from? And if you remember when we were together with Grant, we were looking at the artifacts. Do you remember that double-barred cross of Lorraine that we talked about?
Right.
That's really a very important clue as to who these people are. Well, we know that was used by the Templars, and since it was used by the people that made these artifacts, they have to be related, so they were a precursor to the Templars. During the research I did, there was a precursor to the Knights Templar in southern France at that time. At about the 8th and 9th centuries, they were being persecuted, according to some scholars, by some Muslim group coming from the Mediterranean region, and that seems to be the motivation for them to come over here.
How would they have gotten over to what's now Arizona?
They came by ship, but the exact route we don't know. But make no mistake, since the artifacts are here, they got here.
It's like a weight's been taken off. I mean, all these years not knowing really where they came from, if they were real or not, to be able to sit here and find out that they are actual relics, that my grandfather would be so relieved to know that.
I think if your grandfather were alive today, I think he'd be happy that the truth about the relics is finally out. And I'd like to think that he would be happy that modern science was finally able to clear his name. The collection of lead crosses and ceremonial objects pulled from the desert cement outside of Tucson in 1924 are some of the most historically significant artifacts I've seen unearthed in America yet. Just like so many other important finds, they were written off by academics who refuse to believe in something that goes against the history we've been told. I believe it's another case where modern science has vindicated not just an archaeological find, but a man. That man was Chuck Bent's grandfather. Thomas Bent suffered years of attacks from people convinced he'd perpetrated a hoax. These relics could also be connected to the earliest appearance in America of the religious refugees who would ultimately become the Knights Templar, whose American exploits I'm just starting to reveal.